On this episode of How the F Is This a Podcast, we'll be talking about friendship, red flags, and when to cut ties. Real, raw, and unfiltered. Let's get it.
Okay.
What's up, Chris? What's going on?
Nothing.
Okay.
Good day so far.
So today we talking about, friendships, when to cut ties, the red flags that we experience
In our friendships.
in our friendships, yeah. Tell me, what's up?
I
What
know,
you got
I
going
don't.
on?
Do you have a red flag, a friendship red flag? Or it's like a story of when.
I have a whole story. Let me see if I can sum it up. All right, so I had this friend back in college, right? Did I ever tell you a story? I don't know if I ever told you a story. I probably didn't. But so I was in college. I had just graduated 2013. And me and my friends, we were planning a trip, like a graduation trip. So we wound up going to Puerto Rico. So I believe our trip in Puerto Rico was in June. So I worked at Rugged Warehouse, retail store. I'm working at Rugged Warehouse, and one of my friends came in, which she would always come to my job. Like, she used to pick me up from work. Like, this was one of my closest friends. We had, like, a tight group of, like, 5 people that we used to, like, click with and kind of go to each other's houses. Anyways, so we went to Puerto Rico, had a good time, summer lit. I'm trying to figure out, what I'm about to do after college. My roommate at the time, O'Neill, he had a job in D.C., so he was about to move to D.C., and I was like, all right, I'm contemplating on what I'm going to do as a biology major. I'm like, I wanted to go to med school. So I wound up deciding I was going to move back home, which my mom at the time was living in Delaware. So I called my mom. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna move back home. She was excited. She wanted me to come home from the get-go. I'm like, I'm not really trying to go home, but whatever. I don't really have no set plan. So my last day of work was August 1st, right? They do an exit interview with me. Now, this job, I've been working at this job for 2 years at this point. They never did an exit interview with anybody, right? People have came and gone. So they did an exit interview with me. They have me in the back office, where the managers typically are, and they ask me all these questions about the job, what I like about it, like where areas of improvement for the team, et cetera. So I'm just busting it out like, oh, yeah, y'all could do this better, blah, blah, blah. We talking. Out of nowhere, they're like, hey, do you know this person? So I'm like, yeah. Mad casual, like, yeah, I know them. They're like, oh, well, we need you to write a statement. This statement is going to help you. And we're going to give you 10 minutes to write the statement, or else, we're going to arrest you. And they just walked out of the office and locked me in the office. 2 white people, a white woman and a white guy. So, like, as they was walking out of the office, I'm like, well, I don't have anything to write for you. I don't even know what you're talking about. Needless to say, so I get locked up. They charge me with 2 felonies. A felony of embezzlement and conspiracy of embezzlement. So the girl that they asked me about, they they basically charged me for her stealing at my job. Now, excuse me, I didn't know that she stole at my job. Like,
So you think is she coming to pick you up as a friend, and she's stealing
from the company while I'm working. Now, meanwhile, when we was in college, I'm not going to sit here and act like I was squeaky clean. Everybody was squeaky clean. Like, everybody used to steal a little bit, something, so I'm not going to act like I never did anything. But I genuinely did not know she was stealing at my job, and she had stole for that trip, right? Needless to say, she the first call. I'm like, yo, they done locked me up because blah, blah, blah. But I could have somebody come get me or whatever. So she was the only person that was over age. How old was I? Well, all my friends was over age at that time that could come get me. But she was the only person that I could call at the time to come get me. So she came and got me. I had just moved out of my apartment that day, that morning. I have nowhere to go. All my little clothes in my car. I had a Hyundai Coupe, small as hell. So I had to move in with her. It was a lawyer's office, like right across the street from her house. And I just went to the lawyer's office like, yo, I got these charges. I need help, blah, blah, blah. He's like, yo, you can't talk to her about nothing. So then Rugged Warehouse wound up catching up to her and charging her with, I forgot what she got charged with. So now we both got to go to court, but we technically going to court against each other and Rugged Warehouse, right? So she has her own, now she go get her own lawyer. I have my own lawyer. But meanwhile, we was friends, like, this happened in 2013. We became friends 2 years before that. But when we became friends, we was locked. Like, she was, I would drive to DC with her. Like, we had mad car rides. We'd be in the car playing music. She the first person that put us on the hookah. Like, we was locked. Needless to say, long story short, so we go through all of this, court dates, etc. And the last court date was like December. And November or December, one of them. And I wound up getting one of the charges dropped, and one of them was a misdemeanor. Yep. The conspiracy they kept for a misdemeanor. They gave me a year, but they suspended 11 months and 26 days. So I had to do weekends or whatever. So at this time, I'm still living with her, and all her charges got dropped. All her charges got dropped. And she was the person that stole. I didn't do nothing. Anyways, all her charges got dropped. I did my weekends. I wasn't eating, and when I was going to the jail, whatever, I didn't eat. The food was mad nasty. I barely drank any water. I was in my bed. I was talking to the people, but it was like, all right, I know when I'm getting out. Like, it's a couple of days, so I'm just wait till I get out. So when I would get out, like, she would make dinner, whatever. Like, oh, okay, we used to eat the little Tyson's chicken nuggets or Alfredo, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'm being a ride or die friend, like, because at this point I knew she stole. Like, I'm not telling, blah, blah, blah. I'm taking my little weekends, whatever. Anyways, I wound up getting myself together. I wound up getting a job. Wound up moving to Richmond, the rooming house, all of that, signing up for school. So that situation prompted me to be like, yo, I need to sign back up for school because that's all I know, right? Fast forward, so we in 2014 now. I think it was like 2015 or 16. It was like a year or 2 years after. Because after that situation, we still like would talk. Like, I never stopped being this person's friend. I decided I wanted to buy a house, right? My first house. I was 25. No, I was 24 at the time. So as I'm going through the process of, trying to get this house, they like, oh, you got something on your credit that's delinquent. And I'm like, I don't got no credit card. Like, I don't really be doing anything crazy with my money. And they going through the report, like, because I reported as fraud. I'm like, yo, I didn't do that. They wound up giving me the person's name, and it was the same girl that I had got in trouble with. So I called her. I'm like, yo, you opened up a credit card? Like, we never had no dealings or nothing. Like, this was genuinely my friend. I'm like, you opened up a credit card in my name? It was to H.H. Gregg. Yeah. She's like, no, I didn't open up a card. They may have connected the accounts. I don't know how they would do that. Do I look dumb? Do I look dumb? Do I look dumb? I'm like, what? I'm like, yo, that doesn't even make any sense. So I was like, yo, I put her on a payment plan. Like, you need to pay this. This how you need to pay it. And this is when I'm expecting it to be paid. So she wound up like paying it. But then she stopped making the payments. And then she stopped answering me. And I'm like, yo, I'm going to take your ass to court. If you don't pay by this, if it's not paid in full by this date, I'm taking your ass to court. And then when I threatened to take her ass to court, and then, she wound up paying it. And then from there, we didn't talk. But then my dumb ass in 2020, like 5 years later, I reached out to her about something. I don't know. I don't remember if I don't really remember. It's vague how we was talking. But I was doing a creative project, and she's a creative too. And the person that I had initially helping me, they started helping me with this magazine, and he did some F-boy shit. So I wanted to finish the magazine, and she was the only other person that I could think of. So I had asked her, and she wound up doing it. And she did it or whatever and got it done. And I went to Maryland and sat down with her. We got everything done. But then from there, like, we didn't really, like, I stopped talking to her. It was kind of like, it was a transaction thing for me. Like, I need to get this done.
Yeah.
But I should have stopped talking to her. Like, I was too loyal.
We listen and we don't judge.
Too loyal. No, I was too loyal, for real. Because I'm big on loyalty.
Yeah.
So, like, I have the ability to, like, forgive people. But that shit right there, like, that could have changed my whole life.
Mm-hmm. Well, it did.
Well, it definitely did. Because I was supposed to be in Delaware.
Yeah.
I was going to go to nursing school. Like, I had everything planned out. But everything's still planned out to be,
of course, as it will always.
More than I even thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one personal story that I would share. Would you like to share anything?
I'm thinking, I don't know if I have a toxic, like real toxic friend story. Oh, well, so there was this girl that I was really cool with. And so I also want to just say that maybe in parts of this story, I'll share like personal things and it may be it may evoke strong emotions in folks. So give a warning there, right? But so there was this girl and I was cool with. I met her through this guy that I was talking to. She lived out in DC. So her and I would speak often, right? And so I would talk to her about my things, about the challenges I was having and whatever. And when like we would get off the phone and then when she would call back, she'll be like, "Oh, I was talking to Dwayne and I told him about what you told me." And Dwayne feel like yada, yada, yada. So I would hear this a couple of times. Yeah. Or she'll be like, "Oh, I was talking to Greg and da, 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 da." So I'm like, now I'm in practice even from then of like checking people and advocating for myself, right? I don't really do that well. I'm getting better. But I said to her one day, I was like, "Yo, you gossiping. Like you gossiping about me."
Right.
Like
yeah.
I don't like people why are you having conversations about what I'm sharing with you that ain't got nothing to do with those people? That's gossiping. "Oh, I'm just having a conversation to get some feedback so I can give it to you. But I didn't ask you for that. So no, you're really gossiping." And so what ended up happening is I called her out. Actually, I didn't even call her out. I called it in like, "Hey, I don't like when you do that." Right. And so one day she calls me up. She was like, "Oh, okay, I think you being sensitive and yada, yada." I'm like, "I'm not being sensitive. This is how I feel." So then she calls me another time and she's just like, what did she say? She was like, she started telling me a story. Now she's talking about one of her friends, right? And so I'm listening to it. In my mind, I'm like, here she go again, doing the thing that I don't like.
Right.
But I'm not.
Did you find yourself getting consumed into it though?
Well, no, I think like I was already like, I wanted to be like, I really don't want to hear this story because I really didn't. You know, I have too many intimate stories about her friends that I should not know.
Right.
And so in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is what she do to me. But I didn't say anything. So as soon as she finished telling the story and I didn't say nothing and I chuckled, because sometimes when people say uncomfortable things, I laugh.
Yeah.
And so I chuckled and she was like, "You see, that's the same thing I do when I'm talking to you. I'm talking to my friends about you. Like, it's just like this." And at that point, I knew that this was just a unhealthy dynamic. Like, you're going to gossip about what I'm telling you. You're not going to listen to what I'm saying to you about the boundary that I'm setting. And then you're trying to trick me to like, you know, that type of thing. So that's the only type of, I would say like, and I wouldn't even say toxic, just unhealthy.
Yeah, I mean, unhealthy is
no, toxic. I think there's a difference. No. I think there's a difference between unhealthy.
Unhealthy can cause toxic.
That's true, but
there's a difference, but it could cause it.
There's levels to it.
Yeah,
you like. I think that toxic is actually what is a toxic friendship? Because I'm like, who, like, now that we're talking about it, because unhealthy versus toxic, what is an actual? What would you think a toxic friendship is, even if that has not been your experience. Maybe it's somebody else's
Now,
experience.
I feel like a toxic friendship is like when you know your friend is doing something wrong and they continue to do it over and over and you enable them.
Mm-hmm.
And they, now it's just a continuous cycle. Y'all toxic for each other. One,
Mm-hmm.
because you doing this toxic stuff and you should know better. But two, for the other person that's enabling you, like, that's messed up because you could be real with them and just be like, yo, this is not cool. Because sometimes people enable people and don't necessarily agree with them,
Yeah.
but they'll put them out there to look like a fool.
Yeah.
And that's messed
Not
up.
even I don't know if it's necessarily for somebody to look like a fool. Like, there's been times when my friends have done behaviors that are against my morals.
Okay.
And I'm not saying anything. I don't know why I don't. Not because I want you to look like a fool. It's just like I'm just silent. I don't know what to say. Maybe I don't know what to say. So I don't say anything at all. So, but it's not because I want somebody to look dumb. Like, if I rock with you, I really do want the best for you, right?
Yeah.
But I do think that sometimes, like, I agree that toxic behavior or like, yeah, I don't know. It's so hard for me to understand a toxic friendship. I see toxic romantic, but I don't see a lot of toxic platonic unless you fighting all the time or.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, have you ever seen those friendships where somebody is always, talking about somebody? Sometimes people do it in front of their face. Like, you belittle your friend, but you calling them your friend, but you got everybody else laughing at them, and then everybody else talking about them after.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like that's toxic.
You know what I realized? That
And it's both. It's toxic and unhealthy.
Yeah, I realized that oftentimes people treat other people how their parents treated them unintentionally. Because anytime I've met anybody that does what you just gave as an example, their parent did that to them.
Yeah.
Their parent would make jokes or like so oftentimes I see that you can see parental relationships play out in friendships.
I mean, a lot of it is learned behavior, though.
Yeah.
You learn from experiences, whether you are a part of the experience or whether you just witnessed it, and then you kind of just navigate life.
Yeah.
What do you feel about, like, say if your friend comes to you and say, hey, such and such was gossiping about this, and they were there, but they didn't stick up for you, but they coming back and letting you know, and then they tell you, hey, don't say nothing though. But like, what do you think do you feel like that's unhealthy? And what's the barrier? Like, how would you address your friend, or how would you address that type of situation?
That's such a hard thing. So one of my homegirls, she actually just experienced this and we had a conversation about it. And so like I don't think that I have anybody within my friend group that someone outside of our friend group can go and talk crazy about me. Like, I think like if like me and Lynn's, right? Which I don't think that she'll do, but maybe she does. I don't know. Maybe she's just like talking to one of her other friends, getting an ear about something I've done to her.
Yeah.
Like, that to me isn't gossiping, right? She's just getting an ear. But I don't think she's gonna let somebody else come and say anything wild about me. And I wouldn't let anybody come and say anything wild about her. So if somebody came to me and was just like somebody was gossiping, now I gotta check you. And now I'm questioning your friendship. Cause first of all, why somebody felt safe enough to have this conversation about me in front of you?
Right.
Because I think that, like, from jump, people know who they could talk to you about and who they can't talk to you about.
Yeah.
Has that ever happened to you where you
definitely. It recently happened too. And I asked the person.
Yeah.
So one of my friends told me don't say nothing. And I was like, nah, I'm going to say something. Well, I didn't say that. I didn't tell them I was going to say something. I just was quiet. I just was listening to what they were saying. And I went and said something. And then they found out through the other person because the other person wound up hitting them like, yo, did you say XYZ? And my thing is like, but you was quick to go talk to this person about it, but you could have called me.
But because I
already addressed you about the situation, but I also feel like sometimes it's like, I feel like everybody has some type of, how do I want to say it? everybody talks about something. And it everybody talks about something, and it may include
a
people.
friend, of course.
Yeah, and your friend. I feel like that's normal, right? But I think that when you try to like talk about something that you know nothing about, that's when it becomes gossip and it becomes messy, right? And my thing is like, why don't you feel comfortable with going to just the friend that you want to talk about?
Well, I know
because
why.
is that your friend now? Now you got to question the friendship. Like,
Well,
are we friends?
But in that scenario, I'm questioning both people. But I gotta say this though. I honestly feel like people don't necessarily go to their friends because of a fear that they probably had at some point in their life from saying something to somebody about something. You know, when you grow up, right? Many of us, or we've heard this thing.
Yeah.
If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all.
Right.
So for many of us, it's unpracticed to come to you and be like, hey, what you did right here hurt me, or like, this is what I heard. And then if I feel like there's going to be a retaliation or a silent retaliation, if I feel like you could possibly take something from me, and it doesn't have to be something tangible, but maybe it's attention, it could be time.
Yeah.
Like I feel like some people don't necessarily say anything out of fear of what the person is going to say.
So I hear what you're saying, but the same fear
Not saying it's right.
No, but the same fear that you may have to come talk to me individually, why don't you have that fear when you go out there and talk to somebody else?
Because I thought I could have trusted that person. That's why. Because there's no fear there.
Right, but you don't have the fear that it could potentially come back, because the thing is that when people,
I don't think they thought that.
Everybody has somebody that they tell something to, right, or talk about things to. If some people may have multiple people, right?
Yeah.
Now, I feel like we are always in environments where we hear somebody talk about somebody else or something else that somebody else did.
Of course.
So why do you think, if you can't be a secret holder, why do you think this person gonna be your secret holder? Maybe
there's some type of trust there. If they felt like, so here's my thing about such situations.
I feel like it could be trust, but I'm gonna let you talk in a second. I feel like it could be trust, but I also feel like it could be a manipulation thing. Like sometimes people tell people that they feel don't have the self-esteem or confidence to speak up. And I'm going to tell this person because I know you're not going to say something. So it's not even that I trust you. It's just that I know that I may feel superior over you, so that you will not say anything because you know who I am, because how I feel that I am over you. You know what I'm saying?
I can understand that. I think I can understand that. I have a hard time not saying that this doesn't happen. You work in the field, right? You've studied more. But I don't never think that people be having that type of time. Like in my mind, I'm like, who is out here really calculating that much? Like, I really feel like people, if somebody went to one of my friends and said something to one of my friends,
yeah,
trust and believe that there's something that they felt safe to do that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it had a superior thing, because why? I think it is something. I just don't, obviously I don't know. But like, if I have had something to say about a mutual friend, it's because I have a closer relationship with whoever I'm talking to.
Yeah.
Or like, you said something to me before, and I'm like, all right, well, that's what we doing. That's what we doing. We got something. And so here's the thing, though. I don't necessarily find it a problem, right? So Dwayne is our producer. He's here, so I'm going to use him as an example. I'm going to use you. So if you and we're in a trio group, and Greg does something to me, and I want to have a conversation with Dwayne about what Greg did to me, I think I could do that. That's not gossip. Now,
well, no.
Can I not do that?
No. So my opinion, so if it's something related to our trio group, I don't think that is gossip. But if you go to Dwayne to talk about me that he has nothing to do with or no knowledge about, that becomes gossip.
Now, if you and I, hold on, because now let's lean in close to the audience. Wait, I'm really interested in this. So if me and you got into an argument or something, and I wanted an outlet, So it's gossip if I tell Dwayne how I felt about what happened between us?
I feel like you should go to your closest friend.
But what if
If
it's Dwayne?
well, if
All right, if it's
Dwayne is
Dwayne,
your
it is-
closest friend,
Okay.
then cool. But I feel like if we friends and I know this ain't your buddy. This is not your closest friend. And you decide to go over here to Dwayne when your best friend is this person and this person, we have identified that and you have shared that and y'all, everybody knows this is my best friend. Lindsay's my best friend. Go talk to Lindsay because Lindsay should be the one that's going to hold you down. Why are you going to talk to Dwayne about me? And we all friends. I feel like that's messy.
I think
I feel like it's messy. I feel like it could become one-sided, and also too for that friend, they can take that information too, and they could go back and be messy. But when you go to your closest person, that like, oh, this is my ride or die, like this is my best friend. Your closest person is never gonna even put you in a predicament to where it can get messy. They gonna hold it. They may say what they gotta say back to the information that you gave them, but they're not gonna be like, oh, let me go back now to Greg and see what the real story is.
I don't know
when you
Dwayne
really
would do
that
that.
locked in with somebody, not saying that you can't be like, we could be locked in with everybody, a whole bunch of people, but you're gonna be really locked in with some people.
All right, so fair, but I wasn't. So just for clarity, to my friends, I'm saying if we all close, like the Jamaica babes, that type of situation, like we all close. That's what I was referring to. I get what you're saying though. If I don't have a close enough relationship with one of your friends and we have a thing, then there's no need for me to say something. But here's the thing.
Wait, no. So yeah, I'm saying that, but I'm also saying this. So I have friend groups, right? I have different friend groups, right? But say for instance, I got these 5 friends that I hang out with all the time. I still have an individual relationship with each five of these friends, right? So yeah, we may collectively come together and do things and talk about things, etc. But I also may have I may do a little bit more with this friend or talk a little bit more with this friend about this because everybody's character is different and everybody's personality is different. You just may feel more comfortable with friend A than friend B. Not saying that I don't see your friendship the same. It's just that we gravitate differently within our friendship.
Got it. So the friend that came to you and told you what the other friend said, did you ask them why you didn't say nothing in my defense?
No, I didn't need to.
That's crazy to me.
I felt like I didn't need to ask because at the end of the day, you should have just said that.
Okay.
Yeah, like
I feel like both parties are wrong. That's just me.
What? Oh yeah, both parties.
I feel both parties are wrong, and like I feel like I just think both parties are wrong. But here's what I know: like when I talk about the silent retaliation, I remember one time my friend did something that really hurt my feelings. Like I was hurt, and sometimes if you hurt me deep enough, not deep enough, I'm being a little bit dramatic, but if you hurt me. And it punctures, I'll probably retreat. And so I stopped speaking to her for like a week. And I said, all right, let me call. Like she called me maybe twice. We typically talk every day. So I talked to her at this point and I share how I felt, right? And she listens, she holds space. Get slightly offended that I took a week to say something to her about it. Like, yo, we talk all the time. You should have said something. And I told her, like, at the time, I'm just really not good. I think the story that I tell myself, or the story that I used to tell myself, is that I didn't necessarily have space for me to say things to someone and they actually like listen and stay. The story that I was telling myself, though I had no real proof, is that people hear me and they leave. Though I have hardly no proof of this concept, I really don't know where it came from. But that's the story that I told myself. And I remember telling her that, and we had a very vulnerable moment. And her response to that is, Crystal, I'm here and I'm not leaving you. And I remember my little emotional self had tears in my eyes on this call. And I was solid when I got on the call, but it was just like sometimes like people need to be reminded, even as friendships, because not all the times do we have to cut ties.
Despite rising societal stressors, it's possible to take care of your well-being. Levels Mental Health provides compassionate care for those experiencing mental health challenges. Our holistic approach addresses anxiety, depression, behavior issues, and trauma, ensuring individuals feel understood. It's time for accessible mental health services for all. Visit levelsmentalhealth.com to learn more, schedule a consultation, or donate to expand outreach and support our community.
I was silent when we started, but very just emotional after that, like just hearing that validation, because oftentimes I believe like people don't necessarily talk to their friends even about the things that bother them out of fear. And I think that we do our friends a disservice when we're not having those conversations about how they can improve in our friendship, because most of the time it's not just impacting our friendship, it's impacting it can possibly help them be better.
Yeah.
Depending on what we're saying.
I think it's also important too, like, you can give me verbal affirmations, but for me, you got to show me the actions. Like, so you could tell me, oh, I'm here, like, I'm listening, etc. But if we had a fallout because of something, you just apologize, but you don't show actions behind, like, okay, yeah, I'm doing better, or I'm being a better friend, then for me, you gave me your answer. You know,
What's your love language?
my love language is my love language. What is my love language?
Acts of service.
No, it's physical touch and quality time.
Oh, okay. Oh, did you ever hear the apology languages?
No.
Okay, I can't. I heard of it, but I can't recite it right now. I would have to find my phone that I lost. But yeah, no. But that's what you reminded you saying, like, this is what an apology needs to be for me.
Yeah. And I think that I wonder why it's so easy for friends to come to each other to talk about other issues that they're having related to, other friendships, or, related to anything else that's not related to the individual that they're speaking to. But it's hard for them to come and talk to you about, like, oh, okay, this is what I feel, this is what I'm experiencing. Like, why do we do that?
I think I can talk about it from like my perspective. I feel like we talked about this in one of our episodes before. If my friends don't feel safe having a conversation with me, it's one or two things. It's either them or me. It's either how I've showed up when they did try to have conversations with me in the past. Like, I can kind of see that sometimes one of my best friends, I notice like how she'll be hesitant to give me certain feedback on certain topics because I would get in her, like, we would go at it
Afterwards,
right?
yeah.
So she, like, now she's hesitant. Now I had to keep kind of reassuring her over and over a bit to be like, yo, like, you can say something, I'm listening, I'm not gonna attack. But yes, it could be the person, but I can only control me. So oftentimes I'm like, okay, how am I showing up in my friendship?
Yeah.
Am I allowing a safe space for people to talk to me?
Yeah.
So
what I've been doing within the last year, really, if like I have a friend that comes and tells me something, I ask them like, oh, you want me to say something or not? Like,
but
because
what about
my
when they
friends
say
know
something
that
about you? You talk
What?
about when they say, you said,
no, if they're coming to me with a story,
Oh.
like I'm experiencing blah blah blah, I stop giving feedback.
oh,
I ask them like, oh, are you telling me because you want me to say something, or
got
or
you.
you
You
good,
want me to
you just
listen.
venting,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And a
Yeah.
lot of times when I ask them, they be like, no, you could say something.
Yeah.
And then I just be real, like, oh, I
Yeah.
think XYZ, blah, blah, blah.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I'm not offering at this point, I'm not really offering nobody no feedback unless they want it.
Yeah.
Because one, I'm not gonna invest my time and energy telling you something that I may know that is right for you to do and you don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
That's like,
true.
I want to come out. If you want me to support you, I'll support you. If you don't
Yeah.
want my support, then I'm not going to waste my energy trying to support.
Yeah. And I think I just want to say I misunderstood what you were asking. So initially, my response was because I thought you were saying, like, if Lindsay went to Portia and not me. That's what I thought you were asking.
Okay.
But, like,
Yeah.
I think that, I do that sometimes, and I'll catch myself, like, realizing that I'm giving advice when it wasn't requested of me. One of my homegirls said to me one time, and I was like, "You want me to listen, or you want me to?" She was like, when I call you, I always want to hear what you got to say, And so now I don't really have to ask her that anymore unless I feel like she's in a very vulnerable state. But I think it's important to ask those questions, and like, especially if you're strategic thinking, you want to solve all the time.
Yeah.
So pausing is helpful.
Yeah.
So, like, I know our podcast is talking about, or this episode is talking about, like, friendship red flags and when to cut ties, but what are some ways what are 3 things that you feel like is you got to cut ties for this? Like,
3 things.
All right, maybe I should give you 3. All right, give me one. Give me one.
What?
That may have been a little extra.
I mean, I feel like we talking about gossip. I mean, at this big age we are, like, you gossiping about me.
Mm-hmm.
If you come in my home, if we taking trips together, we know each other's family, we celebrating holidays, all these things together, and you feel like you need to step out of our friendship to talk about me, it's giving, all right, we good. Like we could cut ties. We had fun while we had fun. Because why don't you feel that comfortable, but you feel comfortable in all these other spaces with me?
But is it okay? Now, is it one thing that so I remember one time, like, I think that sometimes we throw friendships out really fast.
Yeah.
Not saying clearly you don't, because you talked about being loyal, right? You said that you're just a loyal person, so you don't throw friendships out really fast. But for some people, they throw friendships out really fast.
Yeah,
and
I do agree.
Do you think that even in the space of maybe one time somebody gossiped about you, that there's room for repair and conversation, like?
Yeah, no, I feel like it's room
Yeah.
for repair, for sure. Like one time, maybe no, I'm not ending the friendship. But if it's repetitive behavior,
Yeah.
then yeah, at some point you have to end it. But also, I think that you have to analyze too how they interact amongst other people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it may be a one-time thing that you did it with me, but is this your character?
Yeah,
like
that's
is this your
important.
behavior? Do you do this? Like, have I witnessed this happening
And
from
somebody
you
else.
multiple times?
Yeah.
Because now it's a character flaw,
Yeah.
and now I have to ask myself, do I want to be surrounded by this person with this type of character?
Yeah. That makes sense.
Because if I view it, I'm sure there's other people that look at you and view it too.
Yeah, that's true. And if they're doing it to, most of the time, people are doing it to multiple people and not just you.
Right.
So so gossip is one way to take to cut ties, or like, honestly too, if you set a boundary and somebody's not respecting it.
Yeah.
Like when
I
you
agree.
communicate how, like, you communicate what you desire, whatever it is, like maybe they have been gossiping and you say, like, whatever, and they continue, I believe that's a reason to cut ties with a friend too.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a lot of reasons.
Reasons.
Cut ties with people's period.
But how do you stay? Like, how do you
stay?
Well,
why did we stay?
no. Oh, you want to talk about why we stay? You gave a little.
No,
like,
I mean, I was stretching.
Oh,
actually.
I thought you was like, oh, I've been waiting for this moment. I didn't know.
Now, why do we stay? I mean, why? I mean, honestly, I think sometimes people have a hard time letting go.
Mm-hmm.
Or just being familiar with the person, the things you do. Like, sometimes you don't want to let that go. So that's why you stay in these unhealthy or toxic relationships with people. Some people don't have a lot of friends. Some people don't have a lot of support. So when you do have that one person, sometimes you just stick with they BS. And you like, all right, well, this is just what I need to deal with. And I'm going to take the person for who they are. And, it's okay to take the person for who they are. If you now witness what this person does and you are okay with taking them for who they are, and then that's you.
Yeah.
I can't tell you don't do that.
Yeah.
But just don't be surprised when something, or if something happens.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the biggest thing. Like for me, I feel like my friends, my core friends, and even like extended friends, like I know them to the extent to where like I know certain things they would do, or I like know how they speak, or know what their characteristic and personality traits are. Like I know when you don't want to be bothered, etc. So when you learn people and you pick up on traits that they have, like you just know how to navigate them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just what it's all about.
Yeah.
It's just navigating the system.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I feel like we don't leave situations or people that still serve parts of us. So even in toxic or unhealthy connections, there's something that's being served and there's something that is feeding is why we're staying there, you know? And I think that really like nobody owes us nothing. Nobody,
yeah,
not friends, nobody owes you anything. And so I think it's also about like being okay if you're just not aligned in the friendship at that time. And everybody has their natural evolution. Maybe y'all will reconnect years later, you know?
yeah. Growth
But
happens. Growth
growth
happens.
growth
Sometimes
happens
people need that moment to
and it's separate.
separate, and then you come back.
And then you come back.
And you
It
be
can
like,
happen.
oh, and it may take years, but it may be the best thing that could have happened
Mm-hmm.
for y'all. So,
Yeah.
yeah. I want to hear from the audience, though. So make sure that y'all, write in our inbox or send us an email, leave a comment. Let us know what you think about this episode. If you want to share a story about a friend that you experienced red flags from, make sure you let us know the juice. Hit us up.
Let us know.
All right. Raw, real, and unfiltered. Thank you.
See you next episode.